Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear viewers. I am Dr. Noshin Afshan and you are watching Dr. Noshin Afshan YouTube. I hope that all of you would be fine and I am thankful to you for watching this video. To watch more videos, please subscribe my channel and press bell icon. So now let's begin. So our today's lecture is about nomenclature of heterocycles and it is the second part of the nomenclature of heterocycles. So our next member is four-membered ring. In the case of saturated with oxygen and sulfur, we call it ethane. But for nitrogen, we call it etidene. And in this case, if there is the four-membered ring with oxygen as the heteroatom, the name of this saturated system would be, as it consists of two parts, oxa for oxygen and ethane for this four-membered ring. So the final name would be, here A would be omitted and the final name would become oxydiene. Similarly, in the case of sulfur, it would be thia and ethane. Ethane means four-membered and thia for sulfur. So here the A would be omitted and the final name would be thietane. And in the case of nitrogen, as aza for nitrogen and for four-membered ring, it would be etidene and the final name would be azitidine. Similarly, in the case of unsaturated four-membered ring, when it contains the oxygen, the unsaturated four-membered ring would end as ete, ete, and as a prefix we use oxa for oxygen, and similarly that is oxa plus ate. Here the A would be omitted and its final name would be oxide. But as here 1 and 2, this is the 1 position and this is the 2. So at 2 position, this one is the saturated position. So we name it like 2-hydroxide. Similarly, in the case of sulfur, as this 2 position is saturated one, so we name it like 2-hydrothiate. And in the case of nitrogen, that is azete. Now, in the case of four-membered ring with oxygen, so here in the case of nitrogen, that would end at olane. Olane means the saturated system with five-membered ring. So in the case of oxygen, this would be, the structure is like this and its name would be like oxa, olane, but the A would be omitted and its name would become oxolane. And its common name is tetrahydrofuran, that is THF. Here it is THF, that stands for tetrahydrofuran, because here 1 starting from the oxygen, then 2, 3, 4 and 5. These 2 to 5 positions all are saturated ones, as they contain the hydrogens at this first, second, third and fourth. So at 4 positions this compound contains the hydrogen, so its name is tetrahydrofuran. In the case of sulfur, the ring would become like this and its name would be thiolane. Here, as it is thia for sulfur, but A would be omitted and then its name would become thiolane. As you know that in the case of nitrogen, it would be like this, here NH and its name would be azolidine, as it is aza for nitrogen and olidine for 5-membered ring. So here the final name would become azolidine, and its common name is pyrrolidine. This is pyrrolidine. The pyrrolidine is common name and azolidine would be its name according to the set of rules. Now, in the case of unsaturated system with 5-membered rings, here with oxygen, this unsaturated system would be like this. Here there would be 2 double bonds and oxygen would form the single bond. Oxygen will form the 2 bonds over here in the form of 2 single bonds. And the unsaturated 5-membered system would end in ol, that is OLE. So for oxygen it would be oxole, but its common name is furan, as mostly this is known by its name as furan. And similarly for oxygen, for sulfur it would be thiolane. For sulfur, this member would be called as thiophene. So in the case of sulfur with 5-membered ring, the name would be thiophene, and it is also called as thiol. That is thiole, that is thiol, representing sulfur in the form of 5-membered ring. Now there is the next member being nitrogen containing 5-membered unsaturated system, as it would be like this. Here it is NH and here there would be 2 double bonds, and its name would be pyrrole. As here pyr stands for nitrogen and ol, that stands for unsaturated 5-membered ring. So its common name would become pyrrole, and if it is with the selenium as heteroatom, then its name would be selenophene. Here it is selenium and its name becomes selenophene. Now in the case of 6-membered ring, and that is the saturated one, here it is with sulfur and this one is with nitrogen. So for 6-membered saturated systems we use enane, that is INANE, enane. For oxygen it is oxa, but here as before the A would be omitted and its final name would become oxynane, and for sulfur it would be thionane. And for nitrogen it would be azynane. Up to 5-membered rings, for nitrogen there is a bit different name as compared to the oxygen and sulfur containing rings. But from 6-membered to onward, the nitrogen also follows the same ending name as in the case of oxygen and sulfur. So here, for 6-membered ring having the nitrogen as heteroatom, name of this compound would be azanine. But there are also their common names. For this oxygen containing 6-membered ring, its common name is tetrahydropyrene. That is tetrahydropyrene. And for nitrogen containing 6-membered saturated system, the common name for this is piperidine. That is piperidine. Now, in the case of unsaturated system with 6-membered rings, it ends with ene or ine. That is ine. Ine. So here, in the case of this oxygen containing the unsaturated system, as oxygen is forming 3 bonds here, so it would contain positive ion, positive charge over it, and its name would become beryllium cation. And in the case of sulfur, its name would become thiopyrrolium cation. Here this is beryllium cation and this becomes thiopyrrolium cation. And in the case of nitrogen, that is the unsaturated system with nitrogen, would become azine, and its common name is pyridine. So this follows actually this one, ine system, that is azine, and its common name would be pyridine. Hence, in the case of 7-membered ring for saturated systems, it would be epane, as for example in the case of nitrogen, that is here, this is the saturated system with nitrogen, so it would become azepane. In the case of unsaturated system, it would be epene. For example, in the case of nitrogen, and as this one is unsaturated system, so its name would become azepene. And similarly, for 8-membered ring, the name for saturated system would become ocane, and in the case of unsaturated system with 8-membered rings would become ocene. So here is the only difference with A and I in the case of saturated and unsaturated systems. So let's see the example with nitrogen. Here it is a nitrogen containing 8-membered ring, so its name would be azocane. And in the case of unsaturated system, when it contains the alternating double bonds, then its name would be azocene. So now we take a look at the overall ring systems in the case of saturated and unsaturated systems, that is here. That is, for 3-membered ring, the saturated system with oxygen or sulfur as the heteroatom, its name would end in irene. As a prefix, here there would be either ox or thi, derived from oxa for oxygen and thia for sulfur. But the A would be omitted in both of these cases and in all of these cases. So just it would be oxirane and thiirane. And in the case of nitrogen, that would be iridine. If as nitrogen, so as iridine. And in the case of unsaturated system with either oxygen, sulfur or any other heteroatom, it would be irene. Similarly, in the case of 4-membered saturated system with oxygen or sulfur, the name would be ethane, and in the case of nitrogen, it would be etidine. But in the case of unsaturated system, its name would be ete. Its name would end as ete. In the case of 5-membered saturated heterocycle, the name would end at olane in the case of oxygen and sulfur, and olidine as in the case of nitrogen. But in the case of unsaturated system, it would end as ol. In the case of 6-membered saturated system, in any case, either with oxygen, sulfur or nitrogen, the name end in enane. And for unsaturated 6-membered heterocycle, it would end as ene, I-N-E. And in the case of 7-membered ring, in the case of saturated systems, the name would end at epane. And in the case of unsaturated system, the name would end as epene. Similarly, in the case of 8-membered heterocycle, the name would end at ocane, and in the case of unsaturated system, it would end at ocene. So thank you very much for watching the video. Please subscribe my channel and press bell icon, and also let me know in the comment section that how much this video is helpful for you. So Allah Hafiz.